न कर्मणाप् न प्रजया धने न त्यागे नैके अमृतत्वमानशुः परेण नाकं निहितं गुहायां विभ्राजते तत् यथयो विशन्ति वेदान्तविज्ञानसुनिश्चितात्ताः सन्न्यासयोगात् यतयः शुद्धसत्त्वाः ते ब्रह्मलोके तु परान्तकाले परामृतात् परिमुच्यन्ति सर्वे. Popularly celebrated as Nyasa Sukta, Sannyasa Sukta from the Mahanarayana Upanishad. Mokṣha Sanyāsa Yoga. The 18th chapter, the summary of all summaries, which takes up this very important topic of sannyasa. Sannyasasya mahabaho tattvamichhaviveditum tyagasya cha rishikesha prithak keshi nishudana. The chapter begins with Arjuna's question. The 18th chapter begins with Arjuna's 18th question. A very interesting question which captures the very essence of the Gita. Sannyasasya mahabaho. Hey Mahabaho. Arjuna is addressing Krishna. Interestingly, he refers to Krishna using 3 different namas in the shloka. This being the summary of all summaries, this being a very important question, in fact the summary of all questions, Arjuna uses 3 namas. Typically he uses 1 or 2. But in this, he uses 3 namas. Sannyasasya mahabaho tattvamichhaviveditum tyagasya cha rishikeshah prithak keshi nishudana. Hey Mahabaho, he addresses Krishna as Mahabaho, mighty armed, strong armed, one with very strong arms, one who is very powerful. Hey Mahabaho. Hey Rishikesha. Krishna is Rishikesha. Rishika plus Isha. Rishikesha. Isha, ruler. Rishika, Indriyas. The ruler of Indriyas. Not his Indriyas, our Indriyas. The ruler of Indriyas, the ruler of senses. Hey Rishikesha. Hey Keshi Nishudhana, the slayer of the demon Keshi. Now, these 3 namas give us a very important message. In order to be truly powerful, one needs to have mastery over one's senses and slay one's internal demons. Now, Keshi Nishudhana is a very interesting name. Arjuna is not calling Krishna here Putana Nishudana, Shakatashura Nishudana, Kamsha Nishudana. He could have used any. All of these are demons. But he specifically calls him Keshi Nishudana in this context. Keshi is a demon sent by Kamsa. The Bhagavatam Shuka says, it seems, Keshi, upon Kamsa's instructions, takes the terrible form of a horse and enters Vrindavana with the speed of the mind, Shuka says. Keshi, the terrible horse, has the speed of the mind. Therefore, Keshi represents the demons in the mind. Represents a mind which is filled with demons, asuric qualities. Keshi Nishudhana. He alone can slay the demons, the asuric qualities in each and every one of us. So therefore Arjuna here is saying, a Mahabaho, you are the one who can slay my internal demons. And you are the one who can control, guide, and help me master my senses. Mahabaho not only means one with strong arms, Mahabaho also means one with long arms. Therefore, Krishna is Mahabaho, one with long arms. Long arms means one who is Udaraha. One who gives and gives more and more and more. He is Mahabaho, Udaraha. Krishna is Udara, keeps giving more and more knowledge, continues to give. So therefore, a Mahabaho, you have been giving me knowledge continuously, profusely, ceaselessly so far. And you are the only one you can also continue to clarify. So therefore, you are the Udara, a Mahabaho. Please continue to give me that knowledge. And you are also Rishikesha. I know you are Udara, you keep giving knowledge, but I also need to keep receiving knowledge. And you alone can make me receive knowledge by preparing me, by controlling my indriyas. Therefore, a Mahabaho, hey Rishikesha, keep giving me the knowledge and make me keep receiving the knowledge. Prithak Keshi Nishudana, you keep giving this knowledge and make me receive this knowledge, and you alone can slay the demon of the doubt that I have. Here, Keshi Nishudana, Keshi also stands for the doubt. Arjuna has one last doubt, which is very important to be addressed. We are all innately curious. We are all innately wanting to understand things. And therefore, questions and doubts are quite natural. But it is very important to understand that doubts should not deter us on our spiritual path. Many a times, it is important to have doubts, but it is also, in addition to learning to doubt, we must also learn to go beyond doubt by strengthening our Shraddha. How can we learn going beyond doubt? Through a potent combination of courage, humility and delight, courage and sincerity to seek answers to our questions, humility to live with unanswered questions, delight to celebrate our breakthroughs with our understanding. So, here Arjuna has a very important doubt that needs to be addressed. And Arjuna therefore asks this question, which happens to be the 18th question. Sanyāsasya Mahabaho. Sanyāsasya, that which is prescribed as Mokṣha Sadhana in the Upanishads. Sanyāsasya Mahabaho Tattvamichhami Veditum. Tattva is ultimate reality, truth. Ichhami Veditum. I am desirous, I am eager to know the truth. Tattvamichhami Veditum. Tyagasya cha Rishikeshaha. Tyagasya cha. Tyaga is also another moksha sadhana prescribed by the Upanishads. Na karmana na prajayadane na tyage naike amritattvamanashuhu parena nakam nihitam guhayam vibrajate yat yathayo vishanti. The Upanishad loudly declares, na karmana na prajaya na dhana amritattvamanashuhu. Amritatva is that immortality, that state, the ultimate state, the Paramavyoman, Paramapada Vaikuntha. Parena nakam nihitam guhayam vibhrajate yat yathayo vishanti. Yatayaha, the sages, those who, the realized Mahatmas, Yathayo Vishanti, that ultimate state, that immortality that is perceived and attained by the sages, that cannot be attained by mere actions, na karmana. Just by performing duties, just by performing rites and rituals, yagas and yajnas, na karmana, na prajaya, cannot be attained merely through progeny, na dhanena, cannot be attained through any kind of wealth and riches. Then how can that ultimate state, that state of immortality, that can be achieved, can be attained? The Upanishad gives the answer. Thyage. Thyaga. Thyaga is prescribed as Mokṣha Sadhana. Vedanta Vijnana Shunishchitartha Sanyāsa Yogat Yathaya Shuddha Sattva Te Brahmaloke tu Parantakale Paramrutat Parimuchanti Sarve. Again, Sanyāsa. Sanyāsa Yogat Yathaya Shuddha Sattva. Through the practice of Sanyāsa, Yatayaha, the Yatis, the great sages, Shuddha Sattva, they get their minds purified. And with the purified mind, through the practice of Sanyāsa alone, Te Brahmaloke tu Parantakale. Antakale, at the time of after death, after this body falls down, they attain that Paramatman in his abode. So therefore, Sanyāsa is the Mokṣha Sadhana. Tyaga is Mokṣha Sadhana. So now Arjuna has heard about Sanyāsa and Tyaga being prescribed in the Upanishads. He has also heard Krishna extensively talk about Sanyāsa and Tyaga. Now Arjuna has a doubt. Sanyāsa and Tyaga seem to be used in different contexts by different people. They seem to indicate different meanings. But Upanishads talk about Tyaga as Mokṣha Sadhana, Sanyāsa as Mokṣha Sadhana. Krishna also has been repeatedly talking about Sanyāsa and Tyaga throughout the Gita. Are they one and the same? Are they different? What is the Swarupa of Sanyāsa? What is the Swarupa of Tyaga? Sanyāsasya Mahabaho Tattva Viveditum. Tattva Viveditum. Therefore, I am very keen to know the truth. What is Sanyāsa? Sanyāsa. Nyasa means placing down. Nyasa means relinquishing, giving up. Nyasa means entrusting. Some nyasa. Complete relinquishment. Complete abandonment. Completely giving up. Sannyasa. Tyaga. Forsaking. Sacrifice. Renunciation. Tyaga also gets repeatedly used in the Gita. Parityaga, Tyajana, Varjana, they're all synonyms. Now, Sannyasa, Tyaga seem to indicate more or less similar meanings, but they seem to be used in different ways by different people. Also, there is a very important doubt. Sannyasa means complete renunciation, completely giving up. Giving up what? Renouncing what? The term doesn't say that. Sannyasa says giving up. But giving up what? Tyaga is renunciation. But renouncing what? That's a big question. The confusion arises not on whether it means giving up or renouncing. The question is renouncing what? Giving up what? So this is what Arjuna is also confused. And throughout the Gita, Krishna has clarified on this several times, but still Arjuna wants total clarity. And that's the reason he's asking this question. Tyagasya cha rishikesha prithak keshi nishudana. Prithak, he says. Prithak. Prithak means, are they different? Are they one and the same? Ichha, veditum ichhami. Prithak veditum ichhami. I want to know their swarupa. Do they stand for the same, or do they refer to two different principles? Is it one principle or two principles? Now, throughout the Gita, if we have to search for one central message, what is that one central message of Gita? Tyaga, Sanyāsa, renunciation. Renunciation is the central message of the Gita. Throughout the Gita, right from the beginning till the end, we see this underlying theme cutting across all the chapters, cutting across all the messages. Therefore, renunciation being the very central theme, we also see that Arjuna's questions, more or less, are also centered around this principle of renunciation. His 17 questions of Arjuna, we have relished each and every question in detail. But if we have to relook at those 17 questions of Arjuna, we will see there is one theme that is also connecting all these 17 questions, leading up to the 18th question. And that one theme is renunciation. Sanyāsa. That one theme is Tyaga. So therefore, Arjuna's quest is essentially going deeper and deeper into knowing what is Sanyāsa and what is Tyaga. Every question that Arjuna asks right from the beginning is trying to get more clarity. And the 18th question is a summation of all his 17 questions. Arjuna, the very second chapter, Arjuna asks his first question. Second chapter has two questions of Arjuna. Question number 1 and question number 2. Dharma sammudha chetaha. This is the first question of Arjuna. Dharma sammudha chetaha. Shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. He is confused about dharma, what is right and what is wrong, and he asks Krishna, what is Shreyakara, what is Shreyas? Now, what is my long-term gain? Now, we always find that long-term gain is always in conflict with our short-term wants. So therefore, for long-term gain, short-term wants have to be renounced. The principle of renunciation, therefore, is fundamental to right actions. So the very question of Arjuna, what is my dharma? What is right action? Is revolving around trying to understand the principle of renunciation. Without renunciation, there is no dharma. And dharma stands on the foundation of renunciation. His second question, right in the second chapter, is about knowing who is the Sthita Prajna. Sthita Prajna sa bhasha samadhistasya keshava sthitadi kim prabhaseta kim asita prajeta kim. Who is that Sthita Prajna? A practitioner of the principle of Sanyāsa. One who practices renunciation in his day-to-day life and living. He is the Sthita Prajna. His second question also revolves around the principle of renunciation. In the third chapter, Arjuna has 3 questions. His questions 3, 4, 5. Jayati chet karmanaste matabuddhar janardana thatkin karmani ghore mam niyojayasi keshava. He's asking Krishna, hey Krishna, thatkim karmani ghore mam. You are asking me to do this terrible act of engaging in warfare. war is so terrible and you are asking me to fight. Tatkim karmani ghore mam. Why are you asking me to fight? I should be renouncing war. Again, seeking clarity on renunciation. Arjuna is still not clear what to renounce, what not to renounce. You are asking me to fight, whereas Shastras say I should renounce. There seems to be a conflict. Tatkim karmani ghore mam niyojayasi keshava. Yamishreneva vakyena buddhim mohayasi vame. Tad ekam vada nishchitya. Ena shreyoham apniya. Arjuna also gives some ultimatums now and then to Krishna. Tad ekam vada nishchitya. You better conclusively tell me one thing. Ekam vada nishchitya. What is shreyakara for me? So here again, should I renounce or should I fight? You seem to be talking about both. Hey, Krishna, you are confusing me. So his fourth question is once again trying to seek clarity on renunciation, on sannyasa, on tyaga. Tad ekam vada nishchitya. Ena shreyoham apniyan. In the same chapter, in the third chapter, comes the fifth question of Arjuna. Hey Krishna, you are asking me to let go. You give a success formula. This success is to let go. But then, how can I let go? Atakena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha. Avichannapi vashneya baladiva niyojitaha. Atakena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha. I want to let go of things, but I am unable to. It looks like it's not just me holding on, they seem to be holding me as well. Papam charati purushaha. Knowingly I am committing sinful acts. I know what is right and wrong. It's not that I don't know. Knowingly I am doing wrong actions. Apiche, he's saying there is some invisible force. Avichannapi varshneya baladiva niyojitaha. An invisible force seems to be impelling me, compelling me to do things in certain ways. You are asking me to renounce. How can I renounce? It looks like I am unable to let go because there is a mysterious force, a force against renunciation, a force that is preventing me from letting go of things. So in the third chapter, Arjuna has three questions. Questions 3, 4 and 5. All the three questions are revolving around sannyasa, trying to seek more clarity. So Krishna says, hey Arjuna, this principle of sannyasa, this principle of tyaga is nothing new. It's not something which I have manufactured. It is not something which just the Upanishads are saying now. This principle is central to life and living from time immemorial. This is what the rishis of yore have been practicing. And I also taught this long time back to Vivaswan, right at the beginning of this Manvantara. Immediately, Arjuna's sixth question in the fourth chapter. Aparam bhavato janma param janma vivashvata. How is it possible that you can teach this principle of renunciation to Vivaswan long ago, so long ago? How is it even possible? Again, that question also centers around the teaching of the principle of renunciation to Vivaswan. Seventh question of Arjuna comes in the fifth chapter. Sanyāsam karmanam Krishna punaryogam cha samshasi. Sanyāsam karmanam Krishna punaryogam cha samshasi. Again, you talk about sannyasa, you talk about karma, you talk about jnana yoga, you talk about karma yoga. On the one hand, you prescribe karma yoga. On the other hand, you also are talking about jnana yoga being exalted. You taught the principle of renunciation, a renounced order of living, and you also taught about an orderly life based on renunciation. What should I choose? Because when Krishna talked about jnana yoga, he also talked about the renounced order of life and living, where one renounces everything and practices the path of jnana. But he also recommends karma yoga. So Arjuna is confused. So Arjuna's question number 7 in the 5th chapter is, Hey Krishna, what is the path I should choose? Once again, seeking more clarity on renunciation. Arjuna's questions 8 and 9 are in chapter 6. Hey Krishna, you are talking about practicing renunciation, but this mind is unmanageable. This mind is steadily unsteady all the time. It is highly unmanageable. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramadi balavadridam tasyaham vayoriva sudurlabham, he says. It is even faster than the wind. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna. With such a mind, how is it possible for me to practice renunciation? How is it possible for me to practice tyaga? And in the same chapter, he continues with the 9th question. Even if one practices renunciation with all initial enthusiasm, sooner or later, one is going to drift away because of this unsteady mind. The initial enthusiasm is soon going to wane, and one is going to go back in the wrong direction sooner or later. So for those yogis, those karma yoga nishthas who start on this path practicing renunciation, what will happen if they get diverted somewhere before, and if they die without fulfilling their life's purpose? What is their destination? What would happen to them? Again, questions 8 and 9 revolving around seeking clarity on renunciation. Question number 10, Arjuna's question, comes in the 8th chapter in response to Krishna's declaration on what should be the goals that need to be attained and what are the things that need to be renounced by the 3 kinds of devotees. Krishna talked about 3 kinds of devotees: Aishwaryarthi, Kaivalyarthi, Bhagavat Sharanarthi. Krishna talks about what are the goals to be attained, what are those that need to be renounced. Immediately, Arjuna asks the question, what is Brahma? What is Adhyatma? What is Karma? What is Adibhuta? What is Adidevata? What is Adiyajna? This is his 10th question. Again, revolving around what is to be attained, what is to be renounced. Arjuna wants more clarity on what needs to be renounced so that one can attain one's goals. Arjuna's 11th question is very interesting. Once again, on knowing more about renunciation, in the 10th chapter, Arjuna asks, Khatam vidyam aham yogim svam sada parichintayan keshu keshu cha bhaveshu chintyosi bhagavan maya. Parichintayan, how can I constantly keep contemplating on you? Hey Krishna, you are prescribing, your prescription is to constantly contemplate on you. Now, I cannot see you. I can only see mundane things, what is material alone. And I cannot perceive you. I am attached to this world. And when I am attached to this world, how can I keep contemplating on you? In what ways? While I am immersed in worldliness, how can I keep connecting with you? How can I keep contemplating on you? Now, this is where Arjuna wants more clarity on detaching from the world and attaching to Krishna. Because we see the shift happening after the 7th chapter, where Krishna until then talks about detachment from the world. From 7th chapter onwards, he talks about attaching to Krishna as a means to detaching from the world. So therefore, the 11th question, Arjuna's 11th question, revolving once again around the principle of detachment and attachment. Attaching to what? Detaching from what? In the 10th chapter. In the 11th chapter, Arjuna asks 2 more questions. Is questions 12 and 13. 12 and 13. Now, Arjuna has understood now that renunciation is not just about giving up possessions. Renunciation is not just about giving up possessions, it is about giving up the notion that I possess. And Arjuna has also understood that there is nothing that I can possess because everything belongs to him. When everything belongs to him, what is there for me to possess? Now, having understood that everything belongs to him, Arjuna wants to now see how Bhagavan possesses everything. And therefore, Arjuna says, Drashtumichami te rupam aishwaram purushottama. Arjuna's 12th question. Wanting to see Bhagavan as the one who is the owner of everything that is. And therefore, Arjuna's 12th question also revolves around the concept, principle of knowing him as the only owner. Renunciation becomes naturally and effortlessly. 12th question again revolves around the principle of renunciation. Arjuna's 13th question is a question we cannot forget. Akhyahime ko bhavan ugra rupaha. When Krishna presents himself as Kala. Kalosmi lokakshayakrat pravriddha. Kala Rupa. What is the purpose of this Kala Rupa of Krishna? The purpose of Kala Rupa is to demonstrate one important fact of life. If we do not give up our attachments voluntarily, we will be forced to give them up involuntarily. This is the fundamental fact of life. And Kala Rupa demonstrates this graphically, vividly, strikingly. And therefore, immediately Arjuna asks, Akhyahime ko bhavan ugra rupaha, he asks. His 13th question, coming in the 11th chapter, once again revolves around the principle of Tyaga. If I don't do Tyaga, I will be forced to do Tyaga, whether I like it or not. 12th and 13th questions revolving around the principle of Tyaga and Sanyāsa in the 11th chapter. The 14th question of Arjuna comes in the 12th chapter, right at the beginning, where he says, Hey Krishna, between the 2 kinds of seekers, 2 kinds of bhaktas, those who worship you through your formless nature, and those who worship your divine form, your Divya Mangala Vigraha, your beautiful form. Between them, who receive the reward faster? The reward quicker. And what is the reward? The reward of staying attached with Krishna. The reward of staying completely detached from the world. If renunciation is the route in the journey of life, bhakti is the fuel. Without the fuel, we may know the route. We may know the route, but we need the fuel to keep us stay put on the route. So therefore, Bhakti Yoga is explained in the 12th chapter in response to Arjuna's question, which once again revolves around the principle of Sanyāsa. Arjuna's 14th question in the 12th chapter. Arjuna's 15th question, we discussed this before, is an implicit question. Happens right at the beginning of the 13th chapter. What is Prakriti? what is Purusha, what is Kshetra, what is Kshetrajna, what is Jnana, what is Jnaya. To practice renunciation, prerequisite is the Jnana, the knowledge of who I am and who I am not. If I do not have the clarity of who I am and who I am not, then I cannot practice the principle of sannyasa, principle of renunciation. So therefore, Arjuna's 15th question, right at the beginning of the 13th chapter, also revolves around the principle of sannyasa. Arjuna's 16th question, which comes in the 14th chapter of the Gita, where Arjuna asks, what are the characteristics of a gunatita? How can I transcend the gunas? Because now he has understood it is the force of the gunas which is preventing him from practicing the principle of renunciation. So therefore, he wants to understand these forces which are acting against him. It is very important to know one's enemy to win the battle. And therefore, Arjuna asks, and he also wants to know the characteristics of one who has won the battle, a gunatita. So, the 16th question of Arjuna comes in the 14th chapter, again revolving around the principle of sannyasa. Arjuna's 17th question comes in the 17th chapter. Ye shastra vidimutsrijya yajante shraddhayanvitaah tesham nishtatuka krishna shraddamaho rajastamaha. Ye shastra vidimutsrijya yajante shraddhayanvitaah. Those who do not align with the shastras but have shraddha. Immediately Krishna says, hey Arjuna, what are you talking? There is no shraddha without shastra. It is shastra which strengthens shraddha, and therefore there is no possibility for one to have the right shraddha if there is no guidance of the shastra. So Krishna conclusively demonstrates that shraddha and shastra have to go hand in glove together, and without shastra one can get completely misguided and misdirected in life's journey. And therefore Krishna is very clear. If one needs to practice the principle of renunciation, one needs the guidance of the Shastras. So therefore, again the 17th question of Arjuna revolves around the principle of sannyasa. Sannyasa yoga yataya shuddha sattva te brahma loke tu paranta kale paramritat parimuchanti sarve tahram vipapam parameshva bhutam yappundarikam puramadya sankastam. Shastras loudly declare that sannyasa is moksha sadhana. And therefore, Arjuna, for one last time, wants total clarity on sannyasa. Sannyasasya mahabaho tattvamichchami veditum tyagasya cha rishikesha pratakkeshi nishodhana. 18th question of Arjuna is therefore a summary of all his 17 questions and captures the very essence of the Gita. In a way, Arjuna also sets the stage for Krishna to conclude the Gita. By questioning the very central theme, he gives an opportunity to Krishna to do a complete recap of all the 17 chapters. Arjuna's 18th question is a summary of his 17 questions. And he also sets the stage, therefore, for Krishna, in the process of answering his 18th question, give total clarity on what is sannyasa, what is tyaga, and at the same time, take the opportunity to sum up all the 17 chapters. So therefore, 18th chapter, Mokṣha Sanyāsa Yoga, is the summary of all summaries, and it summarizes and gives us total clarity on the principle of renunciation. Sannyasasya mahabaho tattvamichchami veditum tyagasya cha rishikesha pratakkeshi nishodhana. Kamyanam karmanam nyasam sannyasam kavayo viduhu sarvakarma phalathyagam prahusthyagam vichakshana. This is Krishna's response to Arjuna. Krishna doesn't immediately conclude on what is sannyasa and what is tyaga. In his characteristic style, Krishna first puts Purva Paksha before his Siddhanta. Purva Paksha is basically referring to the various definitions. Different wise men have defined sannyasa and tyaga. And therefore Krishna refers to these definitions before concluding on his siddhanta, before giving conclusively what tyaga means, what sannyasa means. Very clear. So Krishna is clear about one thing. Sannyasa and tyaga are not different. They are one and the same. It is because of the usage of these terms in various contexts that may give the notion that they are different principles, but Krishna is very clear. Krishna states 3 different opinions of wise men, and after giving the 3 opinions, he concludes with his siddhanta, his statement on what is sannyasa and tyaga. They mean one and the same, but what is the definition? And what is the significance? Now, when we talk about karma, the Shastras classify karma into 3 categories. Nitya karma, Naimittika karma, Kamya karma. Nitya karma, Nitya, every day. Karma that needs to be carried out on a daily basis. These are obligatory duties that need to be performed. Depending on one's varna and ashrama, one's stage in life, one has a set of nitya karma ordained by the Shastras. The duties that we perform. Now, both Vaidika and Laukika. The Vedas prescribe certain nitya karma. Now, we have all forgotten several of these nitya karmas are prescribed by the Vedas. Sandhya Vandhana. Now, nitya karma is mandated. Apart from that, in our current context, to understand nitya karma, all the duties as householders or as students or whatever stage we are in, the duties that we have performed fall under nitya karma. There is an obligation for us to do those duties. Naimittika karma, Naimittika occasional duties. We see several samskaras prescribed by the Vedas. The beauty of Sanatana Dharma is every milestone in our life is celebrated and consecrated with a samskara. Every milestone. Not just from birth, right from conception, Garbhadhana, Pumsavana. No, even before birth, samskaras are prescribed to celebrate and consecrate life and living. So even before birth, the journey starts, right from conception and right until death. Various samskaras. Upanayana, Vivaha. No, there are different kinds of samskaras. There are 16 samskaras popularly that are followed. Now, these are all Naimittika karma. They are not nitya, they are occasional. And then the third category is Kamya karma. Kamya karma. Karma that is performed for an expected reward. Desire prompted actions. Actions that we do in order to obtain a result. These are Kamya karma. So therefore, depending on the definition, Krishna is going to give 3 different definitions from 3 different people. The second shloka covers 2 definitions. The third shloka covers the third definition, and the fourth shloka, Krishna's Siddhanta. Now we will see the second shloka and conclude today's session. The second shloka, Krishna says, Kamyanam karmanam nyasam sanyasam kavayo viduhu. Kamyanam karmanam nyasam sanyasam kavayo viduhu. Kavi. Who is a kavi? A wise man. Those who are wise, they know what is sannyasa, Krishna says. According to some wise men, sannyasa is defined as follows here, Arjuna. Kamyanam karmanam nyasa. Nyasa is swarupa tyaga, renouncing completely. Kamyanam karmanam. Kamya karma, renouncing kamya karma in totality is sannyasa. This is one way some wise men define sannyasa. Swarupa tyaga means completely renouncing, which means not performing any kamya karma. Perform nitya karma, perform naimittika karma, but do not perform kamya karma. Completely renouncing all kamya karma. These are sannyasis who have adopted the renounced order of life. Why renounce kamya karma? Because the Shastras very clearly say kamya karma are moksha viruddhi. They are moksha virodhi because by performing kamya karma, one accumulates punya karma or papa karma, and therefore moksha is not possible. So therefore renounce. In order to attain moksha, kamya karma has to be renounced. Nitya karma, naimitya karma are prescribed by the Shastras, they need to be performed. So therefore, one definition, kamyanam karmanam nyasam sanyasam kavayo viduhu sarva karma phalatyagam prahustyagam vichakshana. Other wise men, vichakshana is also wise people. While some wise men prescribe renouncing kamya karma, some other wise men say tyaga is, what is tyaga? Sarva karma phalatyagam. Sarva karma phalatyagam. Now the question that these wise men ask is, why should one renounce kamya karma? The answer is, kamya karma is moksha virodhi. Now, is kamya karma per se moksha virodhi, or the kamya of the kamya karma moksha virodhi? That's the question to answer. Is the reward, seeking reward, is moksha virodhi. Therefore, why not do the action but renounce the reward? And therefore, the second set of wise men define tyaga as sarva karma phala tyaga. The question they ask is, nitya karma, naimittika karma also have some phala. Now, by performance of nitya karma, one may not get punya karma. But by non-performance of nitya karma, one accumulates papa karma. So therefore, nitya karma, naimittika karma also have associated karma phala. So therefore, why not renounce phala of all three karmas? Nitya, naimittika, kamya. Kamyanam karmanam nyasam sanyasam kavayo viduhu. That's the first set of people defining what is sannyasa. Sarva karma phalatyagam prahustyagam vichakshanaha. The second set of wise men define tyaga as renouncing the fruit of all actions. Sarva karma phalatyaga. Phalatyaga also includes phala sangatyaga also. Phalatyaga means renouncing the results, renouncing rewards. Renouncing not only rewards, renouncing the attachment to the results as well is included in phalatyaga, phala sangatyaha. So therefore, Krishna refers to two different kinds of definitions here. Now, inherently both mean one and the same. Renouncing, renunciation, giving up the fruit of actions is tyaga, renouncing the very action is sannyasa. Krishna is going to say both sannyasa and tyaga are one and the same. There is also one set of wise men who also say, why perform action at all? Why not renounce all actions to reach the state of naishkarmya? Krishna also talks about actionless state. Again, those who have misunderstood actionlessness also prescribe renouncing all actions. And then finally Krishna is going to conclude, all three are partially right. Let me give total clarity on what is sannyasa and what is tyaga. Until then, let us continue to contemplate on the significance of this principle of sannyasa in the Gita. We have seen that this is one theme, this is a thread that connects every chapter of the Gita. This connects every question of Krishna and is very central. So therefore, let us keep contemplating on what sannyasa means to us. what Tyaga means to us. And then when Krishna gives the definition and when we do deep dive into this chapter, we will get all our questions around renunciation answered. After all, this chapter is titled Mokṣha Sanyāsa Yoga. So therefore, by the end of this chapter, the objective is to have total clarity on what is sannyasa, what is nyasa as well. Because eventually we will get, again, this is again a process of peeling the layers of the multidimensional word sannyasa. And as we keep peeling the layers, we will get to know different dimensions of sannyasa and we will have a lot more clarity. Until then, let's continue to keep contemplating on Arjuna's 18th question on what is sannyasa, what is tyaga, are they one and the same or are they different? Sarvam Sri Krishna Arpanastu.